It is 6:02, and I am going to call the Frontier Capital meeting to order. Even though we're being recorded by FCAP. We'll restart with the recording. It is 6:02, and we're calling the Frontier Regional Capital meeting to order, subcommittee meeting to order. And today's agenda, we're going to review, a lot of people are on their phones, so I don't think we have a vote tonight, so it won't be too complicated, but we're going to go through what's going on with the capital projects at Frontier, two that we started last year and where those stand, and then go into what we're looking at for next year. And one of them being the parking lot is a very large item that's going to take some kind of back and forth, and probably definitely a second meeting after we talk about it. So
we do minutes first.
Yeah, please. Do you have
January
that up?
17th.
So,
we need a motion to approve the minutes of January 17th, 2024.
I move we approve the minutes of January 17th, 2024.
so we have a first and second on the minutes. No, we need a second rather. Jared or Phil, you both unmuted. Second, Jared.
Yes, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, Phil.
Yes.
Aye. Yeah.
Aye, Jared.
Hey, so you guys remotely, say your names when you do it, okay? Just so that it's for the record. Thank you.
Damien, yes. Keith, yes.
Jared, yes. Philip, yes.
All right, perfect. You guys did a great job there. All right, and then it goes into the first piece of business, right?
Yep.
Yeah, thanks. I just didn't have that open. And those on your phones, you don't have much to look at anyways because the owl's not working this evening, so people are only seeing my face in the screen. What we're going to be talking about is the document I sent out to you, which is our capital list, which we break up, the beginning part, the gray area being stuff that we've completed, the blue area being things that are underway, and the green area is the area we're discussing for next year. So I did want to take, because it's all kind of related, because it's money that's not yet spent, is where we are with the fire alarm system. All right, we did get approved plans brought forward, and they came in $150,000 over what we had projected for costs to replace the fire alarm system at Frontier. To kind of throw you in, is there anything you want to, can comment on that?
A lot of that overage is bringing it up to code, adding some new things, visual and noise alarms that were not code when the school was built. That's part of
where code has changed.
Right, the code has changed, right.
And so what we're looking to do there is right now we funded that last year through $200,000 of E&D. We will be bringing forward, this is actually kind of falls outside of the capital committee because it's already been approved by you and brought forward to the school committee, but it is ongoing expenses, so I wanted to start by bringing everybody up to speed. We will be coming forward to school committee to approve using school choice of $150,000 so that we can put that money aside and then put it out to bid to get the work done in the following summer. Any questions on that? All right.
Just a comment that you were on a really good roll estimating so accurately for I don't know how many years to some of the major projects. So it's a shame to break your streak. But
yeah, thanks, Phil. Keith, you have your hands up? Keith? Keith, you're unmuted, but I'm not hearing anything. Well, feel free to jump in when you can figure it on your end. Any other questions on that? Because we always can go back. All right. The second area we were going to talk about is the BMS system at Frontier. We approved $200,000 of E&D to move forward on that. However, we are waiting on, right now, the town of Deerfield was able to get over $160,000 toward the BMS system at Deerfield Elementary through their green communities. And they would like to do the same process for Frontier. So we thought it was most prudent to hold on that, especially if we can get state funding to help offset that cost. So we kind of put that on pause. Did I miss anything there?
No, we are in the process of prepping all of the bid documents though, so
Right.
that it'll be ready to go.
Any questions on that? All right. So more to come on that, but those are the two updates of the projects that we have. And I'm not going to go through all the projects that we completed. We did that at all school committee meetings, and I can fill in my select board member here afterwards. All right.
Private briefing, yes.
All right. So the big projects moving forward, I labeled them 1 and 1B. The 1B are things that are over $10,000, but we are going to try to find funding outside of going to either E&D or any warrants or that kind of stuff. Maybe looking at end of school year money, or just using choice and basically keeping that at the committee level, because it is, the largest one being $23,000. I'm skipping over the two large ones so that we can get through this. But the kitchen steamer, we do have lunch funds that we might be able to, we believe we'll be able to cover that. We're going to see how the year continues to progress, but as we get into the second part of the year, we still have plenty of revenue there. We'll use lunch funds to cover a new kitchen steamer. We had 2 sets of doors that need to be replaced. They've basically, through wear and tear, have kind of, I don't want to say fallen off the hinges, but are not closing properly and such. And they are areas where they get a lot of traffic going through them. And those are both at $13,000 a piece. And that's something, again, we can handle internally. But those are larger projects than we would normally take from a maintenance budget. And so we wanted to be aware of those. And again, those of you on their phones, you can check this in the document that I sent you to your homes. The 2 projects that are ones that we're bringing forward is the driveway parking lot. This was part of the Big 6 that we put together 8 years ago, where we talked about the structures that are failing and the driveways getting in worse and worse condition. We did, at that time in 2000, have prints put together by Ty and Bond, connected to a grant for green communities about taking care of the water flow using pervious pavement. The project came in over, I think it was 1.3. I'm going off of memory here on that. And we did not get approved for phase 2 from the state to pay for that. Most people weren't surprised, but we did have prints made up to look at fixing traffic flow or improving. I'm not sure we're going to be able to fix based on overall the way the school is situated to get with the roads, but fixing the structures and stuff. I gave Ty and Bond a call and said, if we are to, can we bring those prints back to life and just update them to change, you move away from the very expensive pervious pavement, go to blacktop, and then the new water catch basins would be up to code, which is to slow down the amount of water going to the street. The newer systems do slow things down. And I said, give me a rough number to go back to the committee with, as we got just blacktopping alone without fixing the structures was around $600,000 to $700,000. And he said, you're not going to get out of this project for less than $1 million. And so, wow, it's a big number. And there's nothing worse than paying money to pave a parking lot from school, from school funds. What we could do with $1 million. But it is if you haven't driven around our parking lot, it's not only is the asphalt failing, the structures have sunken, and you're not failing, but they've sunken and are a hazard. And overall, it needs to be addressed, and every year it gets more expensive. And so I'm going to talk about the other project as well, and then we'll go back and talk about funding. The other project is the LED stage lights. So right now we are, we've looked at, and I look about when we look at improving our building and within our school, making sure that we're spreading, making sure we're meeting all needs of all programs. And our drama program, and there's a program going on right now on that stage with the music program and such. The lighting system is, what's a good word, ancient. It came with the building. It consumes a lot of energy for the energy folks out there. It doesn't run well. It's the board is kind of right now, as you would say, duct taped together to get work for each show. And it really is time to update that to LEDs and more modern, all the different things you can do with modern lighting, so that students can be more of a part of it. Right now, to move stuff around and stuff, it's very cumbersome and very difficult. And really something that should be taken care of. The price of that is going to be a range around $200,000. So those are the ones we brought forward for this year. The other things that we were talking about, obviously, is the second phase of the roof. As you know, we broke that up into multiple phases. But right now, we don't have any major leaks in phase 2 of the roof. And so I really wanted to take a step back and look at get the driveway done before we go back into the next phase of the roof. Because some people say, aren't we doing each phase each year long? We never said we were going to do it the next 5 years. We just said that we have more time in the other phases of the roof. And just to report back to this group, the roof was done, completed within budget, and was done well. I mean, we've had a little bit more wet spots that were growing, so it was definitely needed to be done as we started losing stuff underneath the roof, but that project was done successfully. So things to think about that, takeaways from this meeting is because, like I said, my goal for this meeting is to get people thinking and talking about it, and then we're going to have another meeting where we can sit down and kind of dice up the different models with the money. Is how do we fund $1 million parking lot? And I'm also at the same time waiting to hear back from Ty and Bond about we're going to have to get into the cost of the project and such, a projected cost of the project, but I got to get them to redo the plans, and they're right now sending me an estimate what it's going to be to redo the plans. I talked to them last week. I thought I would have something by today, but I didn't. So we will get finer numbers as well, so as we further this discussion. But one, can I hand over to you on this, or no?
Sure.
All right, so we're going to hand over to Shelley, because we're talking about whether or not we open up the bond that we had for the parking lot as part of the Big Six funding. We do have some school choice money, and E&D, we're going to have some E&D as well, but it's going to be some question of how to balance that. So can I, with that
I think you
introduction?
just did great.
Yeah, but people like hearing from you.
Okay, so E&D is not certified yet. We have completed the audit. They're doing the final review. We're estimated, I think right now, to have about $600,000 available. So we will have funds to cover capital projects. We'll have to talk with school committee about what other pieces of those pie go towards budget and those sorts of things. But we do have a significant amount in E&D. Our school choice balance is still really healthy despite all of the things that we paid off last year, the band, and all of the projects that we completed. So we will have some access to those funds as well, keeping in mind that we do have to come up with another $150,000 for the fire panel. So I think overall we're going to be in good shape to fund the projects. One of the bigger decisions will be whether or not we want to borrow. There is about $300,000 available in the ban that we haven't touched yet that's allocated to the parking lot. So do we want to borrow that and sort of do like we did with the last, where it was interest only for several years, and then possibly Frontier would be in a position to discuss paying it off at that point, so that the towns are only paying the minimal interest payments. So that's one option for school committee to consider. What else? Rural aid, we don't have our rural aid numbers yet, and we don't have what our budget looks like, obviously, at this time of year. So there's a lot of factors, and these are going to be decisions that I think we have to make a little bit down the road, but I think we're going to be in decent shape to fund this significant project. It's just going to be a matter of, can we do the parking lot and the lighting, and we still have to pay for the fire panel replacement.
Right.
You're at.
And I think we've already,
close to 1.5
we're already moving
at
forward
that
on the fire
point.
panel, so that's kind of a,
Right.
that's a safety issue, and we've been limping along, and the patience of the fire department, I'm sure, is, they're understanding, but it's also, they want to see us moving on that. So, that's where we are. That's the kind of the overview of what we're looking at this year. Like I said, I've said it before, there's nothing less attractive than the parking lot, with all the other things that can be done with education and money from these things. But it's reached a safety issue in the sense of the potholes are bad, they're trip hazards, they're
The other thing I didn't mention is Warren, obviously, we can consider going to the town for either of these projects or a portion of either of these projects, which we did not do in fiscal year 25. We did not request any capital money of the towns for anything that we did.
Damien,
past
your
year.
hands up?
Yeah, and correct me if I misunderstood what you said. So the original plan with Ty and Bob had all kinds of drainage in it, and different type of asphalt, and then you went back to them, and you asked some changes can be made, but they still said $1 million. Is that including drainage as well? And do we have to do the drainage? Like, could we just repave it and then and then in 10 years?
So that's a fair question, right? So Bill went out and got asphalt numbers. Again, these are all envelope numbers, and anybody watching at home, these are all envelope numbers. So we're not, don't write this down that this is what we're asking for, but we got to start somewhere when we're talking about the amount of money we're spending. Bill, you want to jump in since you're here?
Yes, I mean, that number, like you said, was $700,000 for new blacktop, line painting, and then they broke it down on each structure they gave an estimate at. So you were probably looking anywhere from $700,000 to $850,000, $900,000 for just basically redoing the school the way it is now. Structures repaired, new blacktop, lines painted, no change in traffic flow, and no water gardens or anything like that.
Okay.
And not the permeable asphalt that was in the original.
Right, and that permeable asphalt is what probably made it to 1.3, which is probably 1.4 now, a couple years later, or 1.5. Again, envelope numbers I'm throwing without any professional knowledge on that. But Damien, you bring a good point as like, how much is it just to repair what we have in place? And you'll save a couple $100,000. There are concerns about walkways from the parking lot to the building and whether or not we should address that. I am sure going to get into some design things that you have to do if we're opening the whole thing up. There are some islands that are, maintenance kind of a pain in the butt because you have to mow these little islands, a little mower and that kind of stuff versus, so there might be different ways of doing that. In the prints in the prints that I have from them from several years ago, they talk about putting a sidewalk in from the parking lot so kids when they get out of their car aren't just kind of, there's a way to access the building without walking through traffic. Improving the crosswalks, and then also in the back of the building. The back of the building is almost the same, putting another thing near where the shed is. But yeah, so it's a limited amount. And what I see them put on the prints, we probably already, I had a conversation with, I was like, well, looking at plowing, this is going to be a disaster. He goes, yeah, well, we'll probably have to change that then. This is what we asked. It never got to the point of, the last set of prints never got to the point where Bill gets to tear them apart. When I say that, plowing's a big deal, in New England. And if you're making them plow around little bump outs that look cute, but all they do is catch a plow blade and get destroyed in 5 years. Those are things that we have to look at. But yeah, I think when we look at, either way, we're going to have some level of engineering, because you're going to have to get those those water catch basins up to grade, and what kind of rain garden and that kind of stuff can be talked about at that point as well. So it's a good question, Jimmy.
Yeah, I can't believe that just throwing new blacktop down costs that much. It's that's what it is.
Well, yeah, it's the blacktop and the rebuilding of all those structures. So everywhere you see a water catch, when you drive around the parking lot, it literally drops 5 feet over the course of over to it. You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to have some grade, but right now it's nowhere near level. So there's a lot of repairs. Those have sunk over time.
Well, and it's the whole, at least the main entrance. I mean, that dip goes across that entire front.
Right. I like that dip because it slows down traffic.
Slows people down.
Phil, what's up? Hands up.
Yeah, just going back to the 2020 permeable study and everything. The reason I like that is because it had the promise of someone else paying for it, as well as the fact that it is, what it is the most responsible environmentally to do, especially in a low-lying area like the parking lot is. The problem that as far as I understood it, we got denied for phase 2 because that was one of the years that the state didn't put as much money into those initiatives as they have in subsequent years and as they have currently. And maybe Trevor would know whether that was ever resubmitted. Just because you lose one year doesn't mean you can't resubmit it the following year or the following year and keep resubmitting it until it gets approved.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that was always, do you know what the status of that was? Has that ever been resubmitted? And could that be resubmitted?
I don't believe it was resubmitted, and it could be resubmitted. The other thing that could be looked at is whether or not there are any other green. I mean, there's been a lot of effort to slow down the amount of water going into Bloody Brook. And I say that biting my own cheek because it's going to, at the same time, monumentally increase the amount of labor it's going to take to get this project even where near the pre-construction phase. But
Frontier can't apply for any.
And Frontier can't apply for it. The town of Deerfield has to, and the town of Deerfield, right? I mean, I think it's I can ask and see if it can be resubmitted. Again, the town of Deerfield, I don't know if it's the same pool of money, because I don't know what grant they went through. No, I think MVP was probably different than what we got for the Green Community. So,
but this would qualify for MVP funding if it gets them. I mean, I know there's always other wish lists that the town might have, but this is something. This is exactly what MVP is looking for these days, the nature-based solutions kind of a thing, which is permeable stuff.
Right. Right. Well, so the permeable asphalt is also a longer conversation versus whether or not we can try to get the drainage basins paid for with some outside money. The permeable asphalt, one of the problems with that is that you can't do normal sanding, or else you got to vacuum it every year because it fills up like. Go ahead.
It has to be vacuumed anyways. It's a maintenance issue. There's other problems that come along with it, and I'm not saying we shouldn't look at it, but I know Kevin Scarborough had his issues with doing it for that reason. None of us have a vac truck to vacuum it. You can't to keep it porous. You can't sweep it. You'll fill the pores and you need to vac it. So far, the only people that have really done it is Mass Highway. That park and ride they did that park and ride over there.
Well, the town of Deerfield rents a vac truck. How many days per year could they add it to the list?
The vac truck they use to clean out the the sewer
Right.
basins is not the same setup you would use to do a parking lot.
Uh,
It'd be more like the one you watch going around a NASCAR track.
I think it's all going to depend on how much we can save on the whole project, whether that becomes worth it or not.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And if we can get the $500,000 in grant that would cover it, it could be worth it.
mm. I mean, this is a tough thing because Frontier, of course, does not have the staff or to really chase down all of these potential grant opportunities, outside funding opportunities. But the flip side of that is that these are just big numbers, and I don't know the solution, but
And
it
it's
just
not
seems
even,
like.
it's not even that we don't have the
Right.
staff, it's the town has to take on.
Well, right now, the town doesn't have staff either,
Right.
the town of Deerfield,
Exactly.
so, they're behind their own projects, but, not behind, but, administratively behind their own projects. So, and I noticed that we lost 2 members in the last few minutes. Soccer. Although, anyway, so, well, one came back.
Okay.
Anyway, so I don't know, so I guess next steps, is looking for guidance on, I could try to, what I have for next steps right now is to get into either an agreement, get Ty and Bond's number, to come back to look at how much it's gonna cost to engineer, again, the parking lot based on that they have some of that work done. That number was still pretty high, that they said to me on the phone, which was a high estimate, but of $50,000, which I found to be very high considering we did the track for 31. But I'll see how that breaks out, and if it is that much, then maybe we have to, put out to, put out an RFP for other proposals for engineering. But we'll see where they come back as a start. And so I guess that's, we kind of go there, and then I guess I start having conversations with maybe where MVP money stands. I just don't, I had very little, Phil, I have very little, because you brought it up, that's what I'm saying to you, very little faith that the state of Massachusetts is going to pave a high school parking lot with pervious asphalt for $1.3 million. I don't see it happening. I think we're chasing rainbows and waterfalls on that, but I can ask around to see if I'm wrong on that. It's just, it's a very, but on the flip side, maybe there is money for water catch basins that are to reduce, to get the catch basins on different corners of our parking lot that could be more environmentally friendly. And what are they doing out there to slow? I mean, I think even the catch basins themselves, they're designing differently to slow down the water from going straight to Bloody Brook or whatever brook it's going into. But again, I'll have to get more information on that as well.
Yeah, there is a VRCOG person that is really clued in on what the state will do with MVP and with nature-based solutions and all these types of things, and I'll talk to you about her.
Yeah, send me who she is, so they know
Okay.
the right person, because I know they have a little bit of changeover over there.
Yeah.
Other thoughts, Damien, Jared?
No, I mean, it just sounds expensive, but obviously it needs to be done, and yeah, I guess we'll just, I think Phil's right, any way we can try to find some funding is better than no funding.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't necessarily have to look at funding the whole project, but maybe we can get part of it funded.
Jared, go ahead, looks like you're starting to talk.
Yeah, I was just gonna say not glorious, but obviously it's been on the radar for a decade, so it's getting kicked down the road, and at some point we gotta bite the bullet. But obviously if we could find another funding, then that's great. But I think it's appropriate to be on the radar.
Yeah. All right, so
The other thing, That just meant that even if we are successful in getting outside funding, they come with significant matching requirements, between 25 and 50%. So it's still not a global solution. There's still some money to come up with no matter what.
Yeah, I'll take 50% on this though, any day of the week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking in terms of part of it, not funding the whole project.
All right, so I will, I'll get a list of kind of things to chase down to get more information. Towns, I don't have a lot of select board members here. I just got Fred representing them all. You know, what do we need to know? Basically, the timeline for some of the stuff, the decisions we have to make are based on when do we have to know, towns need to know for warrant, if we're going that route. Either warrant for having to pay off a loan, not a loan, but what's the word I'm looking for if you go for to use the,
There probably wouldn't be a payment until 27.
oh, so it wouldn't be for the next
I
fiscal
don't
year
think
anyways.
so.
But just to be on their radar, if we're gonna go to a warrant, I just need to know the timeline to get that in by, if we're doing that. That's
So
only one of the options. there's a lot of different
our
options.
budget process at least doesn't really start until February.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of moved a little bit later.
The regional agreement is 45 days, I think.
45 days for the budget, it has to be in place, but when they do their warrants and letting them know what we're requesting is even more important than those other,
Yeah.
you know, so, because I'm just saying, because we haven't talked at all about how we're funding it, but let's say we just had if we got no outside funding, and we said, okay, we're gonna do $400,000 of school choice, $200,000 of E&D, and then, you know, I don't know, I'm just making up numbers, and we ask for $200,000 from a warrant from the town in order to cover it, then they need to know that early in their warrant process, because it's a big chunk of money.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we might not even be asking for warrant money, I'm just saying, but that's the timeline of this committee. So I'm looking at, we'll probably, given how fast this month will go, we'll probably look at a meeting early December of this committee, where I'll come back with some information and details on that. And I will send an email out with an update of where I'm getting stuff, and try to get folks to be able to attend an early December meeting as well. Because I know this was just more of a check-in, kind of a kickoff to this year's process. Any other, because there's just too many unknown questions to keep going, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I've got nothing on the parking lot. I just had questions on the lighting. How extensive or sophisticated a panel system? Because I mean, it's theater lighting, you can run the gamut from bare bones to the most elaborate. And
We had someone come through this summer and gave us, and you're right, it's like, where do you begin and where do you end?
You can spend as much as you want and have a
Absolutely, and it was to replace the lighting capabilities that we do now. Capabilities meaning the where light is, the capabilities of the lighting between the different dimming levels and some of the effects they can do in colors.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the
all
board
that
is,
stuff.
you know,
But,
especially with
Bill, I saw you pulled the number.
computerized boards.
Well, and
it's-
George looks like has the.
Yeah, I have the
full-
quote from it.
Okay.
I
Go
have
ahead,
the
go
quote
ahead.
from it
Yeah.
as well. So, are you looking just for the cost of the board?
I'm looking for the cost, but also what level of capability.
So it's
we're
an Element
looking
2
at.
6K lighting control console, which is for about $8,000. So I'm assuming
Okay,
it's
that-
probably digital. Yeah.
Yeah, it's digital, but for $8,000, it sounds like a low-end kind of thing, because
Yeah.
you can spend
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands
Oh,
of dollars
absolutely.
Right.
on something
Yeah.
like that.
But the lighting itself, I believe the hardware was about just over $100,000, and then you have to get an electrician to come in to
Right,
convert it
yeah.
over to the LED, and that's where that would,
Right.
could get us up to 200.
Yeah, that's what I want to know, how much was in the control system?
Right, so that's the control.
As opposed to the hardware.
And so
of the
the
lights.
lighting, and so the quote I have here is about $85,000.
Okay.
And that's without installation.
Right.
That's been the
So-
updated one since I.
Yeah, so this is
Okay.
that's without installation, which would be
Okay,
an
but
additional. Yeah,
The answer to my question, it sounds like a fairly bare
Yeah,
bones
yeah.
panel.
Yep.
Lighting board.
yes.
The labor is going to be
The-
costly, because
yeah,
it's
oh.
prevailing wage, so it's gonna be.
Yeah, electricians
crazy
don't
to
come
get
cheap.
the roof.
Yeah, yeah, we can't do it ourselves.
We may be able to buy the product ourselves, which saves us a little bit.
Right.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
upcharges, but
yeah.
it's still gonna be very expensive for installation.
Yeah, that's, I just wanted to know how much was that element of it.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Other questions from the committee?
Don't know.
All right. Well, it's kind of, again, this is kind of the kickoff meeting, and given our kind of configuration as well, half of us being remote, it's at least we got things rolling, I guess we could say. Now I'll get some more information, come back, build a stronger agenda with a little bit more details and facts for the December meeting. If questions come up on your end, shoot them to me via email, and questions or more information you want, stuff that maybe we didn't talk about, let me know. All right.
Okay.
All right. Can you get a motion
Hey,
to
real
adjourn?
quick, yeah.
What?
Real quick, I thought it was interesting to the point. We just pulled in the Hampshire Regional parking lot, and it is painted by the kids better than our kids at Frontier.
All right. Oh, the parking lot spaces.
Yes.
Okay. Duly, the principal has. George has written that down, and he will address that immediately.
Exactly. We've got it. We need more art teachers.
That's right.
All right, good luck at your soccer game, Damien, and Keith, he's already left.
Yeah, Keith is here with me, actually.
All right, good luck to the game there, and a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Get a second?
Yeah.
All right,
Yes.
Yes.
and Jared, even if you don't say yes, we're going to adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.